I caught my mother forging my signature at 2:47 a.m., third time that week. She wasn't paying bills. She was rerouting fraud packages under my name while my uncle, the family handler, logged every drop like inventory. They worked by kitchen light, whispering coordinates like thieves. You don't forget the sound of your own name being turned into a weapon. The creased name tag from childhood appeared on the counter that morning. Still warm. Someone had been holding it, studying it, tracing the letters. My mother's coffee cup hit the saucer, sharp, too loud. "Just organizing," she said. Her hand didn't shake. Mine did. I found the unsigned address form that night, tucked in a drawer I hadn't touched in years. My handwriting, my loops, my slant, but not my hand. Someone had practiced. Perfected, stolen me on paper. The hallway went cold. I didn't scream. I folded it back, walked upstairs, and started watching. Every delivery. Every 2:47 timestamp when the mail scans mismatched. Every box that appeared by the utility closet while I was out. My uncle would nod at his phone. My mother would disappear. Minutes later the package was gone. They moved like clockwork. I moved like smoke. I started photographing everything. Delivery logs, routing slips, the ownership right documents they thought I'd never find. I didn't confront them. I didn't cry. I just built the case they didn't know was coming, frame by frame, while they smiled at breakfast like I was still too naive to see. Frozen. The air thinned the night I found 3 accounts opened in my name, credit lines I'd never touched, addresses I'd never lived at. They'd been using me as a shell for months. Maybe years. I stopped shaking. By morning, I knew exactly which delivery log screenshot would crack their alibi like ice under weight. The kettle clicked off at 2:47. My mother was already in the kitchen, phone face down. Screen still glowing at the edges. She didn't look up when I walked in. The coffee cup sat untouched. No steam. She'd been waiting, not drinking. I poured water and watched her reflection bend across the kettle's surface. Her mouth moved before the sound reached me. "Did you sleep okay?" Her hand stayed on the phone. I said I slept fine. The lie fit us both. I leaned against the doorframe. That's when I saw it. Her laptop sat open across the room. Delivery confirmation on screen. My name in the address field. Her thumb hovered over the trackpad. She'd forgotten to close it. Or thought I wouldn't notice. The unsigned form from yesterday had moved. Not in the drawer anymore. I'd checked at midnight. Someone had been in the utility closet since. My uncle's car sat in the driveway. No headlights. No door slam. Just there. Cold spread through my ribs like ink through water. My mother looked at me. Her smile reached her teeth, then stopped. I smiled back. Warm. Easy. The kind that says nothing's wrong. I set my mug down. The ceramic hit the counter harder than I meant. Same sound as yesterday's cup. Sharper now. I walked past her. Past the laptop. Past the phone glowing like a question she wouldn't ask. I stopped at the threshold of the lower hallway. The baseboard was loose. I could see the edge of paper underneath. White corner. Clean fold. They were printing them here, in my house, while I slept. My hands didn't shake anymore. By tonight, I'd know exactly which ownership right document they thought they'd hidden well enough. They threw a dinner party that Friday. Laughter in the living room. Wine glasses clinking like applause. My mother's voice carried through the hallway, bright and easy, telling the story of how she'd helped me organize my finances. Everyone nodded. Someone said I was lucky to have family like that. I stood in the kitchen doorway. Listened. My uncle raised his glass, toasted to family looking out for each other. His hand was steady. The room was warm. I felt ice settle behind my sternum. I walked to the table, sat down, smiled. No one looked twice. Being dismissed is the loneliest public feeling there is. My mother passed the breadbasket. Her fingers brushed the edge of the unsigned form, folded underneath the napkins. She didn't flinch. I watched her thumb press the paper flat. Casual. Practiced. Like she'd done it 100 times. My uncle's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. 2:47. Right on schedule. He hesitated. The pause stretched. No one else heard it. No one else felt the air thin. The glasses kept clinking. The laughter kept rolling. But the room had already shifted. I could feel the weight of what he wasn't saying pressing against the space between us. Then he stood, excused himself, walked toward the lower hallway. I didn't follow. I just counted the seconds until I heard the utility closet door click open. 17 seconds. Same as yesterday. Same as the day before. They'd turned my name into a routine. I picked up my glass. Took a sip. Let the conversation wash over me like I wasn't mapping every movement. By morning the delivery log would show 3 more packages. But I hadn't noticed the second seal was already warm. I opened the laptop at 3 in the morning. The same metallic tick I'd heard in the corridor archive. Barely there, like a hard drive spinning down. I pulled up the delivery tracking portal. Entered my name. 17 active accounts appeared. I'd opened none of them. Each one had a different address. Same city. Different zip codes. All routing through the lower hallway by the utility closet. The first account showed 23 deliveries in 6 weeks. High-value electronics. Luxury goods. Items I'd never seen, never touched. The billing addresses were scrambled. But the ownership right documents all carried my signature. My loops. My pressure. Perfect forgeries living in a system I didn't know existed. I clicked the first transaction. The timestamp read 2:47. The approval email had been sent from my mother's phone. I scrolled down. Another transaction. Same time. Same approval source. My uncle's name appeared in the routing log. Handler. Coordinator. The words sat there like they'd always belonged. The air cooled 1 degree. I opened the second account. 31 deliveries. Furniture. Appliances. Resale inventory moving through my name like I was a shell company. Then another degree. The third account showed flagged items. Customs holds. Misrouted packages that triggered fraud alerts. Someone had responded to each alert. As me. Using my email. My phone number. Apologizing for the confusion. Then the frost started to form on my exhale. I clicked the evidence object file buried in the archived folder. A delivery log screenshot from 8 months ago. My mother's handwriting in the notes field. Signature confirmed. Package cleared. The fraud packet I'd found on my doorstep wasn't the beginning. It was the overflow. They'd been running this operation for nearly a year. Using my identity. My credit. My address as the drop point, while I slept 10 feet away. I downloaded everything. Every log. Every email. Every forged approval with my name, stamped across the top like permission I'd never given. The files took 4 minutes to transfer. I watched the progress bar crawl, listened to the house settle around me. No footsteps, no doors, just the metallic tick repeating in the walls like a heartbeat I couldn't locate. By dawn, I had enough to dismantle everything. But I hadn't found the original unsigned address form yet, the one they'd traced, the one that started it all. The ledger line now empty. I swallowed the sentence before it shook loose. The words sat in my throat like glass. Confront them now or wait until I had everything. Both choices felt like falling. I stared at the downloaded files. 17 accounts. 8 months of fraud. My name on every single line. A low knock behind my ribs. My mother's coffee cup appeared on the counter at dawn. Same spot. Same angle. She hummed while she poured. Light. Easy. Like nothing lived under the floorboards. I walked past her to the utility closet. Opened the door. The unsigned address form was gone. Someone had moved it overnight. I checked the drawer. Empty. Checked the baseboard. Nothing. They knew I was looking. Blood beat against my ears. My uncle's car pulled into the driveway. Early. Too early. I heard his footsteps on the gravel. Heard the side door open. He walked straight to the kitchen. Didn't knock. My mother handed him her phone without a word. He scrolled. Nodded. Set it down. I stood in the hallway, silent, watching their reflections in the window glass. They moved like choreography. Practiced. Efficient. My uncle glanced toward the closet, then toward the stairs, then toward me. His eyes passed over me like furniture. A kick inside my chest. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just let the weight settle. My phone buzzed. Delivery notification. Another package arriving at 2:47. Addressed to me. Shipped by someone I'd never heard of. Approved 3 hours ago while I slept. I could confront them now or build the final proof. Door 3 didn't exist. My mother refilled her cup. Steam rose. Her hand was steady. My uncle checked his watch. Left without speaking. The side door clicked shut. I walked back to the laptop. Opened the tracking portal. The new package showed high priority routing. Signature required. They were escalating. I pulled the evidence object file back up. Scrolled to the signature samples. Found the original form buried 6 folders deep. My handwriting. But the ink pressure was wrong. Too light in the curves. Too heavy on the downstrokes. They'd practiced on something else first. I just hadn't found the warm-up sheet yet. My hand stopped shaking. The house went quiet. 5:57, and the lock began to hum. The signature dried mid-air, refusing to land. I held the pen above the practice sheet, traced the loops I'd seen on 17 forged documents. My mother's rhythm, my uncle's pressure. I needed to know how they'd learned me. The bathroom mirror caught my hand moving, but my reflection blinked 2 seconds after I did. The delay hung there like a glitch. I looked away, looked back. My reflection's hand was still mid-stroke while mine had stopped. I closed the door, started documenting every timestamp, every routing code, every mismatched approval that carried my name. I built a spreadsheet in silence, color-coded the fraud tiers, high value red, customs flags orange, signature mismatches yellow. The pattern emerged like a map I'd been standing on. My uncle coordinated. My mother approved. The lower hallway stored. The utility closet laundered. I was the shell. They were the operation. The evidence object folder grew. Screenshots, emails, delivery confirmations. Ownership right documents with ink pressure analysis notes in the margins. I wrote down every 247 transaction. Every package that arrived while I slept. Every forged apology sent as me. Ink pooled. Pen pressed. Breath caught. Hands tightened. Pages stacked in 3 folders now. I labeled them by defendant. Printed 2 copies. Sealed one in an envelope addressed to no one. Hid it where they'd never look. Inside the box of childhood name tags they thought I'd forgotten existed. The second copy I left on the kitchen table. No note, no explanation. Just the evidence fanned out like cards face up. I walked upstairs. Showered. Dressed. Came back down at 7. My mother stood at the table. Staring. Her coffee cup sat untouched. Steam gone. The pages hadn't moved. But her hand hovered above them. Shaking now. Not steady anymore. My uncle's car wasn't in the driveway yet. But it would be. 247 always came. This time the signature landed. Through my finger, not the pen. 3. I watched from the kitchen doorway. My mother stood at the table. The evidence fanned out in front of her. My uncle walked in at 7:15. Saw the pages. Stopped. His shoulders went rigid. My mother's hand hovered above the top sheet. She didn't lift it. Didn't speak. Just stared. The room, filled with their breathing. Shallow. Controlled. Shoulders rising in sync. Air dragging through teeth. The silence stretched, like a held beat. I counted the seconds. 17 before my uncle moved. He picked up the first page. Scanned it. Set it down. Picked up the second. His jaw tightened. My mother exhaled through her nose. Long. Slow. The kind of breath that tries to buy time. My uncle's phone sat on the counter. Screen up. The delivery portal still open. 17 accounts visible. My name at the top of each one. His thumb hovered above the screen. Swipe distance. One motion, and he could delete. Clear the cache. Erase the routing logs. The share icon pulsed in the corner. Blue. Waiting. His thumb drifted toward it. Paused. Pulled back. He set the phone down. Face down this time. My mother finally spoke. Her voice was quiet. Steady. How long have you known? I didn't answer. Just watched her hands shake. Watched my uncle's confidence crack like old porcelain. The evidence sat between them. Undeniable. Time-stamped. 17 accounts. 8 months. My signature forged 243 times. Tink. My uncle checked his watch. 2:47 approaching. The delivery window. Another package scheduled. Another fraudulent approval waiting. He looked at my mother. She looked at the pages. Neither of them looked at me. I stepped into the room, stood at the edge of the table, let the wait settle. The next package arrives in 47 minutes, I said. You can explain this to me, or to the investigator I've already contacted. My mother's cup slipped. Didn't fall. Just shifted half an inch. The sound echoed. My uncle's hand went to his phone. Stopped. He knew I had copies. Knew the envelope was sealed. Knew the evidence was already beyond his reach. Applause. Please. Bury me louder. The confession left his mouth before the question reached my ears. My uncle started talking. Names. Dates. Routing codes. How they'd opened the first account. How my mother had traced my signature on graph paper. How they'd practiced for 3 weeks before the first package arrived. He gave me everything. The room dropped 1 degree. I felt it through the kettle handle. Cold metal against my palm. Another degree. The key on the counter turned ice against my fingertip. I watched his face collapse. Watched my mother's hands fold into her lap. Another degree. The pen on the table stiffened. Frost bloomed along the clip edge. I pulled the evidence object closer. The delivery log screenshot with 8 months of fraud, compressed into rows. My name repeated 243 times. 1 more degree. My breath clouded. My uncle kept talking. We needed the income. You weren't using your credit. It seemed... He stopped. Searched for the right word. Found nothing that fit. My mother stared at the table. Silent now. Her confidence gone. The air thinned. I felt the corner of my mouth lift. Just the edge. Skin creased near my cheek. A tooth caught the light. I held the inhale. Let the pause stretch. Then let the smirk drop. My uncle's phone buzzed. 2:47. The delivery window opened. Another package arriving. Another forged approval waiting in the system. I reached across the table. Picked up his phone. Opened the portal. 17 accounts stared back. I held the screen toward him. Cancel them. My voice was flat. No anger. No heat. Just instruction. He took the phone. His hands shook. He started typing. Account 1. Cancelled. Account 2. Cancelled. My mother watched. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Just watched him dismantle what they'd built. A breath scraped through teeth. I pulled the sealed envelope from my bag. Set it on the table. This goes to the investigator if anything reappears. If my name shows up on one more fraudulent transaction. If you breathe wrong. I stood, walked to the door, stopped, turned back. His apology arrived, already forged. Almost. I waited in my room. The house settled around me. Walls ticking. Floors creaking. The silence had weight now. I checked the timestamp. 2:46. 1 minute left. The clock hand dragged forward. Each second stretched visible. Dust drifted in the path it carved. Time slowed until I could count the millimeters. The hand moved. Stopped. Moved again. Glacial. I watched the second sweep past the 12. The minute hand clicked forward. 2:47. Package arrival window open. I listened. Nothing moved downstairs. No footsteps in the hallway. No closet door opening. No whispered coordinates between my mother and uncle. The operation had stopped, but the system hadn't. One package remained in transit. Already approved. Already routed. Already carrying my forged signature toward the lower hallway. My pulse kicked against my ribs. Hard. Rhythmic. Then I heard it. Bass thumping through the walls from 3 houses down. A party. Music vibrating through foundation. My heartbeat matched the tempo. Beat for beat. Locked in. I couldn't separate the sound anymore. Couldn't tell where the music ended, and my pulse began. The rhythm pulled everything into sync. The evidence object folder sat on my desk. Copies sealed. Originals scanned. Backup drives hidden in 3 locations. The ownership right documents flagged for review. The investigator's contact saved in my phone. 1 call away. The lights flickered. Once, twice, then died. Absolute silence. No bass. No pulse. No sound. Just black. I held my breath. Counted. 3 seconds. 4. The lights snapped back. The bass resumed. My heartbeat lagged, then caught up, synced again. I heard the delivery truck outside. Engine idling. Door sliding open. Footsteps on gravel. Package hitting the doorstep. The driver walked away. Engine faded. The house was still. I walked downstairs. Opened the front door. The fraud packet sat there. Unsigned. Misrouted. Final piece. I picked it up. Felt the weight. Turned it over. The seal was warm. 0 hits when the seal lifts. A thin curl of smoke twisted upward from the kitchen sink. I held the lighter steady beneath the unsigned address form. The paper caught. Edge first, then center. The flames spread slow. I watched the creased name tag from childhood sit on the counter beside it. The one they'd used to practice my loops. My pressure. My signature stolen, letter by letter. The room inhaled. Air pulled toward the flame. Oxygen feeding the burn. The walls seemed to lean in. Everything tightening around the single point of heat. I felt my lungs empty. Held the exhale. Let the silence stretch. The evidence object folder sat open on the table. Every forged document. Every misrouted package. Every fraudulent approval carrying my name. I'd kept copies, sealed them. Sent one set to the investigator. Hidden another where they'd never reach. But the originals deserved fire. I whispered it once. My name. The real one. The one I'd been before they turned it into inventory. Softer. Again. Barely audible now. Just breath shaped into sound. The ownership right documents curled as they burned. Ink blackening. Signatures dissolving. 17 accounts reduced to ash. My uncle's routing logs. My mother's approval emails. The delivery log screenshots with 247 stamped across every line. All of it feeding the flame. Heat bloomed outward. The air shimmered. I felt warmth against my face. The lens of everything blurred. Soft edges where sharp lines used to live. The fraud packet from the doorstep burned last. I dropped it into the sink. Watched the seal melt. Watched my forged signature twist and blacken and disappear. The smoke alarm didn't go off. The house stayed quiet. I turned on the tap. Water hissed against embers. Steam rose. Replaced smoke. The basin filled with gray slurry. Evidence turned to sludge. I wiped the counter. Dried the sink. Opened the window. Let the November air pull the last traces out. My mother's coffee cup still sat on the table. Cold now. Untouched. I poured it down the drain. Rinsed it. Set it in the rack. The house was mine again. The name was mine again. The lock on the utility closet had been changed. New key. My key. No copies made. No access granted. I walked upstairs, packed the childhood name tag in a box, sealed it, labeled it with a date that meant nothing to anyone but me. Ash carried what was mine.